We're exploring Zora Neale Hurston's 1937 masterpiece, Their Eyes Were Watching God.
And it's so much more than just a classic novel, isn't it? It feels like a guide almost for navigating life's big questions.
Absolutely. And our mission today, for you listening, is to go beyond just the surface story. We want to really unpack Janie Crawford's journey, this decades-long search for who she is.
Yeah, following her through those three very different relationships.
Exactly. And we'll look closely at Hurston's language, that incredible use of Black folk idiom, and, crucially, the novel's complicated life after publication. How it was dismissed, then rediscovered.
It's quite a story in itself, but maybe we should start with the creation story of the novel itself, because the sources are pretty clear. It was written incredibly fast.
That's right. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. Hurston wrote the entire thing, this complex, beautiful novel, in just 7 weeks.
7 weeks. While she was in Haiti on a fellowship.
Yeah. It suggests this wasn't some carefully plotted academic exercise. It feels like an eruption. Many critics point to this overpowering sense of exigency and urgency.
Urgency born from experience.
It seems so. She'd just come out of a really painful relationship herself, and you can almost feel Janie's story shedding expectations, finding self-love pouring out of Hurston's own moment of, well, anguish and maybe liberation, too.
It does feel like the story was just there, fully formed, waiting to get out. And that kind of energy shapes the whole book, even the structure.
It really does. The way it's framed, it's like we're listening in on a private conversation, but one that's meant to be shared. It's got this call and response feel.
Okay, explain that a bit. How does that work?
Well, the novel actually starts near the end of Janie's physical journey. She walks back into Eatonville, her hometown, looking weathered, having come back from burying the dead.
And her best friend, Phoebe Watson, is there, waiting. Waiting for the story.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the bulk of the novel is the story Janie tells Phoebe. It's Janie's response to Phoebe's implied call. What happened? So we, the readers or the listeners, become eavesdroppers on this really intimate sharing of a life story.
We do. Janie basically hands over her entire history, her survival, her hard-won wisdom to Phoebe. She's trusting her friend to hold it, to understand it.
And more than just hold it right, she tells Phoebe to share it.
Yes, that's key. She says, "You can tell him what I say if he wants to. That's just the same as me, 'cause my tongue is in my friend's mouth."
My tongue is in my friend's mouth. Wow, that really captures something deep about oral tradition, about shared experience.
It transforms her personal struggle into something communal, something instructive. It suggests, I think, that our stories only find their full meaning when they're witnessed and passed on.
And it's interesting because Hurston herself kind of becomes part of that chain, doesn't she? She's not just recording Janie's voice.
No, not at all. We get Janie's voice, raw and direct in the dialogue, speaking that beautiful vernacular. But then we also get Hurston's voice in the narration, this elevated, poetic, almost philosophical perspective.
The sources call Hurston Janie's echo.
That's a great way to put it. It's like when Janie might get tired, emotionally, from telling her own story, the narrator steps in. She uses this more abstract language that captures the deep psychological currents of what Janie lived through.
So it's this blend, the down-to-earth talk and the high-flown poetry.
Precisely. And that blend is what gives the novel its incredible richness. It grounds the story in a specific community, it's a specific culture, but it also lifts it into the realm of myth, of universal human experience.
Okay, so let's dive into that experience. Where does Janie's quest really begin? What's the first spark?
Well, to understand Janie Crawford, you absolutely have to start with that moment, early on, chapter 2, under the pear tree. It's before society really clamps down on her.
Right, the pear tree scene. It's so vivid, almost like a spiritual awakening.
It really is. It's like her origin story, her personal scripture. She's just an adolescent girl lying under this blooming pear tree, and she witnesses this perfect moment of natural connection.
Yeah, she's watching the bees and the blossoms.
And it's described as a mystery, something almost divine. She sees the bee sink into the flower, the love embrace, the whole tree shivers with ecstasy. It's this vision of completely mutual, reciprocal life force.
And the language Hurston uses is incredible. It's so sensual, mixing nature and spirituality and, well, the beginnings of sexual awareness.
Absolutely. It's all woven together. The inaudible voice that speaks to her, the pain remorseless sweet. This becomes her ideal, this feeling of harmonious connection, being part of something larger, giving and receiving in equal measure. That's the horizon she's searching for.
That sets the bar pretty high for love and life.
It does. It's this pure natural vision. But then almost immediately, it crashes against a very different kind of discovery, a social one.
You mean realizing she's Black?
Exactly. It's such a jarring contrast. Up until she's about 6, she lives on the Washburn place where her nanny works, playing with the white kids. She doesn't consciously register race.
And then she sees that photograph.
Yeah, the photograph the visitor takes, and she literally doesn't recognize herself. She sees all the white children she knows, and then this real dark little girl with long hair, and has to ask who it is, and the others laugh when she finally gets it. I'm colored.
Yeah.
It's brutal, and it highlights how others already saw her. They even called her Alphabet because she had so many different names people called her. Her identity, she learns in that moment, isn't just internal like the pear tree feeling. It's something imposed from the outside, defined by race and by others' perceptions.
So the internal vision versus the external label.
Yeah.
That conflict starts right there.
It does, and the person who most powerfully enforces that external social reality is her grandmother, Nanny.
Nanny. Her perspective is just soaked in history and trauma, isn't it?
Completely. Nanny's vision for Janie is all about protection, about security, happiness, connection. Those are luxuries Nanny feels Janie can't afford. Her priority is survival.
And you have to understand Nanny's own story to get why she's like that.
Yeah.
Born enslaved.
Raped by the plantation owner. Then her daughter, Leafy Janie's mother, is raped by her school teacher when she's only 17.
And Leafy just breaks, runs off, leaves Janie behind.
Right. Into alcoholism. So Nanny has seen firsthand the extreme vulnerability of Black women, the constant danger. Her life was defined by others using her, controlling her body.
Which leads to that absolutely devastating line, she says.
De nigger woman is de mule, de world, so fur as can see. It's heartbreaking, but it's her lived reality. And her whole mission becomes ensuring Janie is not that mule.
But her solution isn't freedom in the way Janie understands it. It's about status.
Exactly. She translates safety into social elevation. Nanny has this dream, her great sermon, she calls it. She wants Janie to take a stand on high ground.
Sit up on a porch like a white madam.
Yes. That porch represents economic security, property, respectability. A life where Janie won't be vulnerable, won't have to scrape and bow like Nanny did. It's Nanny's version of freedom, freedom from hardship, achieved through status.
But that high ground, that porch, it ends up being another kind of cage for Janie.
It absolutely does. Which brings us straight to Logan Killicks, the first husband. He is Nanny's dream made real.
He's the safe choice. Solid, respectable, owns property.
Right. Nanny pushes Janie into marrying him because he's a good man, he has a house, 60 acres, even an organ in the parlor. He represents stability. Nanny is terrified Janie will end up like her or Leafy, used and discarded by someone like the boy Johnny Taylor, who Janie was kissing over the gatepost. She thinks Johnny just wants to use Janie's body to wipe his foots on.
So Logan is the antidote to that fear. But for Janie, he's the death of the pear tree dream. The novel is blunt. Logan did not represent sunup and pollen and blooming trees. No, she looks at him and sees some old skullhead in the graveyard. Ouch.
It's brutal. He represents duty, obligation, stagnation. He expects her to work, to submit. He starts wanting her to do farm chores. It's loveless, restrictive. Janie just languishes, always looking towards that far horizon she glimpsed under the pear tree.
So the 60 acres meant to be freedom just become walls.
Exactly. A cage built from Nanny's fear. And the sad irony is, Nanny dies not long after the wedding.
Leaving Janie trapped in this life Nanny built for her, without Nanny even there anymore.
Yeah, she's stuck on that high ground, completely alone, trying to figure out how to get back to her own horizon. She has to find her own way out.
And the way out arrives in the form of Jody Starks.
Enter Jody. If Logan was inertia, Jody is pure ambition on wheels. He seems, at first, like the answer to Janie's yearning.
Talks a good game, right, about the horizon?
He does. He speaks for far horizon, change, and chance. He's charismatic, confident. He sees Janie and immediately wants her. Wants to make a wife out of you, he tells her. And for Janie, trapped with Logan, he looks like escape. He convinces her to leave Logan, just like that.
And they head off to this new, all-black town, Eatonville. Or West Maitland, some called it.
Right. And Jody doesn't just arrive. He basically takes over. His ambition is huge.
He buys up land.
200 acres, pays cash, gets himself elected mayor, opens the first store, which becomes the town hub. He even installs a street lamp, a massive deal back then.
Yeah, the big barbecue celebration for the lamp. He establishes himself as the big voice right away.
He absolutely loves being the center of attention, the one in charge. But that big voice needs silence from others to echo properly, especially from his wife.
Janie is supposed to be the prize, the symbol of his success, but she's not supposed to participate.
Exactly. She's the bell cow, as he thinks of her, the lead animal, the best one, but she's supposed to be seen and not heard. He forbids her from joining the conversations on the store porch.
Which becomes this central stage for the community's life.
Right. Jody's whole identity is wrapped up in ownership and control. And the most obvious symbol of that control is what he does with Janie's hair.
Ah, the hair. It's magnificent, right?
Yeah.
Long, thick, plentiful.
It is. And Jody makes her tie it up in head rags whenever she's in the store or in public.
And the sources are pretty clear. This isn't just about modesty. It's jealousy, isn't it? Sexual possession.
Pure jealousy. The book mentions him seeing another man, Walter, just kind of casually touching the end of her braid. And Jody flips. He sees her hair as part of her allure, her power maybe, and he can't stand the thought of any other man even looking at it with appreciation, let alone touching it.
So tying it up is like locking it away, making her his property visually.
Exactly. She's the object of his quest, the symbol of his status, but she has to be subordinate, controlled.
And this control directly clashes with the very public, very vocal culture of that store porch.
Oh, completely. That porch at sundown, that's the heart of Eatonville's social and intellectual life. It's where the men gather, and Hurston focuses on the men's talk here to philosophize, tell stories, argue, judge. They become lords of sounds.
Passing nations through their mouths. That's such a powerful image.
It is. This isn't just idle chat. It's performance. It's debate. It's how culture is made and maintained. And the prime topic for their verbal artistry is Matt Bonner's Poor Old Yellow Mule.
Right. The mule is practically a town character.
Next to the mayor in prominence and made better talking, Hurston writes. The stories they spin about the mule talk are incredibly elaborate, funny, often cruel, but showcase this amazing verbal skill. It's signifying woofing, a real art form.
Can you give us a taste of that language? The way they'd verbally spar?
Oh, it's fantastic. They use these wild metaphors and insults, calling someone gator-mouthed or box-ankled. It's all about wit and invention. The big example is that argument between Sam Watson and Lige Moss.
About nature versus caution, whether you avoid fire naturally or because you learn to.
Exactly. And the point isn't really to settle the question. The point is the performance of the argument itself, the linguistic skill, the humor, the exaggeration.
Like Lige's line about nature being so strong in a black hen.
She got to lay a white egg. It's brilliant. It shows this deep, playful intelligence at work in everyday talk. Hurston spends a whole chapter on this porch talk to show you the richness of the community life that Jody is trying to wall Janie off from.
And Janie, stuck inside the store, she actually feels for the mule, doesn't she?
She does. She hears them tormenting it and mutters, they ought to be shamed. There's this connection, maybe remembering Nanny's line about the mule, do world?
And Jody eventually buys the mule.
Yeah, but not out of kindness. He does it to shut down the talk that he thinks reflects poorly on the town he runs and to make himself look magnanimous. Janie sees right through it. She tells him he did it to make himself look like a king, something, comparing him, maybe sarcastically, to Washington or Lincoln freeing the slaves. He uses the mule's liberation to boost his own image.
So this vibrant world is right there. But Jody keeps pushing Janie away from it, silencing her.
He absolutely needs her to be silent. His justification is just chillingly condescending.
Somebody got to think for women and chillin' and chickens and cows. Like, God, they shit don't think them themselves.
It's just complete dismissal. And this forces Janie to retreat inward. This is maybe one of the most crucial psychological moves she makes to survive those 20 years with him.
She develops this split, right? The public self and the private self.
Yes. The novel says her actual mind felt squeezed and crowded out. So her outward self, this shadow of herself, does the work, runs the store, plays the role of Mrs. Mayor Starks. But her real self, her inner life, retreats somewhere else.
Under a shady tree with the wind blowing through her hair.
Exactly. She realizes she can comply outwardly without surrendering inwardly. It's a survival mechanism. It keeps that pear tree dream, that core self, alive, even if it's hidden deep down.
But you can only keep that split going for so long. Eventually, something has to give.
20 years is a long time, and as Jody starts to decline physically, his insecurity grows, and he lashes out at Janie more, attacking her looks, her age.
And finally, she erupts. It's not just a complaint. It's a full-blown rebellion.
It's in Chapter 7. He's picking on her again, and she just lets him have it. And it's not just defensive. She claims her own ground.
That line is unforgettable. Stop mixing up my doings with my looks, Jody.
And then you can tell me whether Ma behind is on straight or not. Boom. She basically tells him his opinion of her body or her competence is irrelevant. She separates her being from his judgment.
And for Jody, whose entire power rests on his big voice, his ability to control the narrative.
This is devastating. He's been publicly undermined by the one person he thought he completely controlled. His only response is physical violence. He hits her hard, calls her an old woman. It's the moment his dominance truly cracks.
And his physical health goes downhill fast after that, partly because he refuses to accept he's sick.
Right. The doctor diagnoses kidney failure, says he needed treatment years ago. But Jody can't face that reality. He prefers to believe he's been cursed by a root doctor, a two-headed man. He needs an external enemy, not an internal weakness.
But Janie doesn't let him die with his illusions intact. She goes to his deathbed for one last painful confrontation.
It's incredibly raw. She tells him straight out that he's dying. And she tells him why his life, their marriage, failed.
You're dying, and you're so busy worshiping the works of your own hands and cuffing folks around in their minds till you didn't see a whole heap things you could have.
She forces him to face the truth. His ambition crowded everything else out, including her. Too busy listening to your own big voice, she says. And he dies just moments later, still sputtering about her tearing down talk.
Yeah, obsessed with his image to the very end.
And Janie's first act as a widow is incredibly symbolic.
Instantly, she goes to the mirror, tears off the head rags he forced her to wear for 20 years, and lets down her hair, feels the weight of it. It's a profound physical act of reclaiming herself.
But she's also savvy enough to know what the town expects.
Oh, yeah. Before she goes downstairs to announce his death, she starched and ironed her face, putting on the mask of the grieving widow. She's learned how to perform the role society demands while being inwardly free. That's a huge shift. And Jody gets the send-off he would have wanted, right? The biggest funeral imaginable.
Absolutely. The finest thing Orange County had ever seen, with Negro eyes, Cadillacs, dignitaries, the whole spectacle. It validates the status he spent his life building. He died, the little emperor of the crossroads. Janie observes it all, free inside, watching the final performance of his life.
So Janie is finally free, independent, wealthy, owner of the store and the house, and single.
And suddenly, she's a very desirable widow. The suitors start showing up almost immediately, but they approach her completely wrong.
How so?
They treat her like royalty, like Joe's successor. They're respectful and stiff, calling her the Empress of Japan. They see the property, the status. They want to manage her things for her.
Putting her right back on that pedestal, that high stool do-nothing nanny wanted for her.
Exactly. And the town, the community, they're worried too. People like Ike Green tell her she needs to marry someone respectable, someone they know, to protect her assets. They're afraid she'll be taken advantage of by some stray nigger.
The ghost of Annie Tyler and Who Flung looms large.
Constantly, that cautionary tale about the older woman robbed by a younger man is on everyone's lips. Society wants her contained, safe, respectable.
But then, Tea-Cake walks in. Virgil Woods.
And he is like a breath of fresh air. Completely different from anyone she's known.
How does he approach her?
He just treats her like a person. Not like Mrs. Mayor Starks or a grieving widow or a pile of assets. He comes into the store wanting to play checkers.
Checkers. Something Jody would never have let her do. An equal footing right from the start.
Exactly. He teaches her the game. He laughs with her. He takes her fishing in the middle of the night. He doesn't care about propriety or status. He's spontaneous, charming. Hurston describes him as looking like the love thoughts of women. Like a glance from God. He resonates with that pear tree feeling.
Okay, so Janie's interested. How does Eatonville react?
Oh, they are scandalized. Utterly horrified.
Because he's younger.
Yeah.
Poorer.
All of the above. And because Janie starts acting, well, happy and free, she's only 9 months widowed from the great Joe Starks, and suddenly she's sashaying off to a picnic in pink linen, wearing bright colors because Tea-Cake likes them on her.
The gossip must have been intense.
Vicious. He's just after her money. He's too common. He's going to ruin her. Phoebe, her best friend, comes to her basically as the voice of the community, delivering the warnings, invoking Annie Tyler again.
And how does Janie respond? This is a real test of her newfound independence.
She stands her ground. She tells Phoebe she's done with that high stool nanny built. She realizes that kind of safety is just another prison. She's choosing her own path now.
Tea-Cake ain't dragging me off nowhere. I don't want to go.
Exactly. She's claiming her right to choose, her right to experience life, even if it's risky. It's a powerful declaration of self-determination.
But the path isn't smooth. Their relationship hits a major snag almost immediately in Jacksonville. The money incident.
Ah, yes, the money test. It really grounds the relationship in reality. Fast. Janie, despite her love, is still a bit cautious. She sells the store, gets the cash, but she secretly pins $200 inside her clothes just in case.
And Tea Cake finds it.
Worse, he steals it while she's asleep.
Oh, wow. That must have felt like a huge betrayal. Back to the who-flung nightmare.
It must have. And what does he do with it? He throws a massive party, a guitar, food, drinks for everyone, except Janie. And he even pays $5 to keep the ugly women away, which is just, wow. Shows his impulsiveness, his need for show.
So Janie finds out, confronts him. What's his explanation?
It's surprisingly honest in a way. He says he'd never had his hand on so much money before and just wanted to feel like a millionaire for a night. He admits he didn't invite her because he was scared.
Scared of what?
Scared that if she saw him in his element, saw his commonness, saw how rough his friends were, she, the former mayor's wife, would leave him. He was afraid of losing her by being himself.
Okay, that's complicated. How does Janie react to that? Does she leave?
No. And this is crucial. She doesn't leave. Instead, she lays down the law. She tells him, basically, if you ever have a good time without me again and come back telling me how wonderful I am, specs to kill you dead.
Whoa.
Yeah. Her demand isn't for him to change who he is, it's for total inclusion. You specs to partake with everything, huh? She asks him, meaning herself. She wants all of it, the good times, the bad times, the commonness, everything. Together.
And Tea Cake gets it?
He seems to. He says, from now on, use my wife and my woman and everything else in the world I needs. It's like that theft, that fight, paradoxically cements their partnership on a much realer, more equal level. She wants him, not just the ideal.
So from Jacksonville, they head south, right?
Yeah.
To the Everglades.
Yeah.
To the muck.
Yes. And the muck represents Janie's complete immersion into the world she'd only glimpsed from Jody's store porch. It's the opposite of Eatonville's structured hierarchy.
How is it described?
As raw, fertile, overflowing. Big lake Okeechobee, big beans, big cane, big weeds, big everything. People wild, too. It's intense, vibrant, untamed.
And Janie dives right in.
She does. She trades her dresses and town shoes for blue denim overalls and heavy shoes. She works alongside Tea Cake, picking beans. They are true partners, economically and socially. This is where she finally finds that vibrant community connection she'd been missing.
And the social life revolves around the juke joints, right? The gambling, the music, the energy. Hurston describes pianos living 3 lifetimes in one. It's loud, it's passionate. The philosophy is down to earth. Work all day for money, fight all night for love. And Janie blossoms there. She finds her voice.
Completely. She laughs, she talks, she tells stories with everyone else. She learns new skills, practical skills. She even becomes a better shot with a rifle than Tea Cake.
Able to knock the head off of a chicken hawk. There's real mutual respect growing there.
It seems for a while like the pear tree dream finally realized in the real world. Shared work, shared fun, equality, passion. But Hurston doesn't give us a simple fairy tale.
No, because the muck isn't perfect either. There's conflict. There's prejudice.
Exactly. The biggest source of trouble comes from Mrs. Turner.
Mrs. Turner. She represents a whole different kind of prejudice, doesn't she? Not white against black, but within the black community itself.
Colorism.
Deeply ingrained colorism. Mrs. Turner practically worships whiteness. She believes black people need to lighten up, literally and figuratively. She wants the race to class off.
And she disapproves of Tea Cake for Janie.
Strongly. She thinks Tea Cake, being dark-skinned, is dragging Janie down. She admires Janie's lighter skin, her coffee and cream complexion, her straight hair. She basically tells Janie she should be with someone lighter, like Mrs. Turner's own brother.
She actively tries to break them up.
Yes. She idolizes Janie based on her features and despises Tea Cake for his darkness and his association with the common folk, the laughter, the blues, everything Mrs. Turner thinks is holding the race back.
And this threat, this judgment from Mrs. Turner, it triggers something really ugly in Tea Cake.
It does. It triggers his deep-seated insecurity about losing Janie, about not being good enough for her by these artificial standards, and he reacts with violence. He hits Janie, yes. The novel says he slapped her around a bit, and it's explicitly stated why he did it, to show he was boss, especially to show the Turners that he had control over Janie. It was a public assertion of ownership born out of fear. That's incredibly disturbing. It shatters the image of equality they had.
It absolutely does. And what's almost as disturbing is the reaction of the other men on the muck when they see Janie's bruises the next day.
They don't condemn him.
Oh, they express envy. They say Tea Cake is lucky because Janie is a tender woman who will just cry. Their own women, the rusty black women, would fight back or leave. It shows how normalized male dominance and violence were, even in this supposedly free space.
So the violence wasn't just Tea Cake's personal failing, it was part of the social fabric.
It seems so, and Tea Cake reinforces his dominance by later picking a huge fight at Mrs. Turner's restaurant, basically trashing the place until the Turners are forced to leave the muck. He dries out the source of his insecurity through chaos.
So Tea Cake's love is complicated. It offers freedom, equality, passion, but also possession and violence.
It's deeply flawed, deeply human. And Janie, having experienced the cold, silent control of Jody, seems to choose Tea Cake's volatile mix. She chooses the turbulence because it comes with life, with feeling, with partnership, even with its dangers.
It's like that metaphor she uses later, love isn't a grindstone, it's like the sea.
Exactly. It takes its shape from the shore it meets. Tea Cake's shore was rough, unpredictable, but it was alive. Hurston refuses to simplify. Finding yourself, finding love, it involves navigating these contradictions.
And the ultimate test of that complex love and their life on the muck comes with the hurricane. The hurricane, the literal storm that forces them and everyone else to confront forces far beyond human control. It gives the book its title. Their eyes were watching God. How does the storm build? Are there warnings?
Oh yes, plenty of warnings. First, nature itself signals the danger. The Seminole Indians start heading east towards Palm Beach, telling the locals a hurricane is coming. Animals, rabbits, possums, snakes are all migrating away from the lake.
But the people on the muck ignore them.
Largely, yes. There's denial, arrogance. Indians are dumb anyhow, some say. And crucially, they look to the white people in the coastal towns. Since the white folks aren't leaving their fancy houses, they figure it can't be that bad.
Wow, that's a tragic reliance on the very system that oppresses them.
Isn't it? They use the white presence as their safety gauge, and it traps them. Meanwhile, the men gather at Tea Cake's house, trying to bolster their courage with talk.
More porch talk, even facing a hurricane.
Yes, the final performance. They tell stories about Big John de Conquer, this mythical folk hero who could outwit anything, even the devil. It's stuffing courage into each other's ears, using words as a shield against the growing dread.
But words eventually fail against the wind and rain.
Completely. When the storm hits, Hurston's language becomes epic, almost biblical. Gabriel was playing the deep tones in the center of the drum. The talk stops, and that's the moment.
Their eyes were watching God.
Yes. They stop looking at each other, stop relying on their own wits or strength. They huddle together, looking up their souls, asking if he meant to measure their puny might against his. It's a moment of profound humility, all the human striving, Jody's ambition, the porch debates, Tea Cake's charisma. It's all rendered meaningless by the power of the storm.
The descriptions of the storm's fury are terrifying.
Lake Okeechobee itself becomes a monstropolis beast. The sea is walking the earth with a heavy heel, houses are torn apart, people swept away. It's chaos.
And in the middle of this chaos, Tea Cake has to save Janie.
He does. They're struggling through the floodwaters, and Janie gets swept off her feet. She grabs onto a piece of roofing, but then sees a cow swimming towards her with a huge dog sitting on its back.
A dog.
Yes, a big, vicious dog. Tea Cake sees it's about to attack Janie as she grabs the cow's tail. He jumps in to fight it off, but the dog bites him savagely on the cheekbone.
The dog he later describes as pure hate.
Exactly. He kills the dog, saves Janie, but he's been bitten. They dismiss it at the time just a scratch in the middle of surviving a hurricane, but that bite is fateful.
They eventually make it to Palm Beach, exhausted but alive. But the human world imposes its own cruelties immediately.
Right. The storm revealed the power of God, but Palm Beach reveals the enduring power of Jim Crow. Tea Cake, despite having money from the muck, is rounded up by armed white guards.
Forced labor.
Yes. Impressed into service, burying the hundreds of dead bodies scattered by the storm. His status, his money mean nothing. He's just a black man needed for dirty work.
And the orders for handling the dead are just sickening. They're starkly brutal. The white guards tell the black workers to check everybody, find out if there's white or black. And the treatment depends on the race.
Completely. White bodies get pine coffins, however cheap. Black bodies are just dumped into a mass grave covered with quicklime. If they couldn't tell the race for sure, the order was to look at their hair.
Look at their hair. Just like Jody's obsession, but now used for segregation even after death.
Shh. It's horrifying, the ultimate assertion of racial hierarchy. And Tea Cake, forced to participate in this, makes that incredibly sharp observation.
Looks like they think God don't know nothing about the Jim Crow law.
Yeah. It cuts right through the hypocrisy. Even after facing divine power, human society immediately reasserts its own brutal, discriminatory laws.
Tea Cake gets away from the burial detail, and they try to rebuild, but the dog bite, it comes back to haunt them.
About 2 months later, rabies. The mysterious sickness starts. And because rabies affects the brain, Tea Cake's personality changes drastically. He becomes suspicious, intensely jealous, paranoid.
He doesn't connect it to the dog bite.
Not clearly. His paranoia latches onto other things. He starts suspecting Mrs. Turner's brother might have put a hex on him. He wildly accuses Janie of sneaking around when she's just trying to get help. He hides a pistol under his pillow.
The trust, the equality they had, it just evaporates with the sickness.
Completely. His mind is poisoned by the disease. Janie sees he's desperately ill, calls a doctor, but she also sees the gun and knows she's in danger.
So she takes a precaution.
A very clever, desperate precaution. She checks the pistol while he's outside and sees 3 chambers are loaded. She spins the cylinder so the hammer will fall on empty chambers first. 3 clicks before a bullet. It's a warning system, a desperate hope to avoid the worst. She also makes sure the rifle is nearby.
She's still hoping she won't have to use it.
She tells herself Tea Cake wouldn't hurt her. She tries to believe it's just the fever making him act crazy, but the fear is real.
And then the final confrontation happens. It's swift and devastating.
He comes back inside, looking rabid, a queer loping gait, and aims the pistol right at her. It clicks once, twice.
Her warning system works.
It works, but she knows the 3rd click means a bullet. In that split second, seeing the ferocious look, the pure hate that mirrors the dog, she grabs the rifle. In frenzied hope and fear, she fires.
And the shots.
They ring out almost together. His bullet misses her, hits the wall. Hers finds its mark.
And he dies, biting her arm.
Yes. In his final moments, the disease makes him clamp his teeth into her forearm. A last unconscious act of possession.
The horror of that. But immediately after, her feeling changes.
Yes. The survival instinct gives way to grief. A minute before, she was just a scared human being fighting for its life. Now she was her sacrificing self with Tea Cake's head in her lap. She holds him, mourns him, even thanks him silently for the love and life he gave her.
But the law doesn't see that nuance. She's arrested and tried immediately.
Same day. And the jury is 12 white men who know nothing about her life, about Tea Cake, about the muck. The legal system is completely detached.
And what about her own community? The people from the muck who are there?
They turn on her, viciously. From the back of the courtroom, they shout accusations that Tea Cake was a good boy, that she must have been cheating on him, that she killed him deliberately. Sop to bottom wants to testify against her.
The same community that embraced her now condemns her.
Yes. They judged her for leaving Jody's status. Now they judge her for Tea Cake's death. They are blinded by their own grief, maybe, and by rigid ideas about how she should have behaved. They demand she be punished.
So who defends her? Who understands?
Ironically, the white women in the audience. They seem to perceive her grief, her love for Tea Cake, the desperation of her situation. After she's acquitted because the evidence of rabies and self-defense is clear to the white doctor and jury, it's the white women who surround her like a protecting wall.
Yeah, it's a stunning irony. The very group Nanny aspired for Janie to join becomes her protectors while her own community rejects her.
It's profound. The Black community shuffles out, heads down, perhaps ashamed, perhaps still angry. It shows that internal community judgment can be just as harsh, just as restrictive as any external prejudice.
So Janie survives the trial, acquitted but ostracized by many of her peers, and she returns to Eatonville.
Yes. Back where she started physically, but transformed internally. She walks back into town wearing the overalls she wore on the muck. Not the mayor's widow dress, not the picnic linen Tea Cake liked, just herself.
And she has the story, which she gives to Phoebe.
Fulfilling, as Hurston writes, the oldest human longing self-revelation. The journey is complete because it can now be told, understood, shared.
And she carries a small reminder of Tea Cake, doesn't she?
Yes. Not money or property, but that packet of garden seeds he'd bought, intending to plant. She keeps it as a symbol of his life force, his connection to growth, his potential. It's a living memory.
And she leaves Phoebe with that essential piece of wisdom she learned.
You got to go there to know there. Experience is the only teacher. You can't learn life from a porch or a high stool.
And the 2 things everyone has to do for themselves.
Go to God, and they got to find out about living for themselves. It's a radical declaration of individual spiritual and existential responsibility. No one else can do it for you.
And she offers that final, beautiful metaphor for love, contrasting the different kinds she experienced.
Right. Love isn't like a grindstone, harsh, uniform, destructive. Love ain't something like a grindstone that's the same thing everywhere.
Love is like the sea.
It's a moving thing, but still in all, it takes its shape from the shore it meets, and it's different with every shore. Logan's shore was rocky and barren. Jody's was a high, confining cliff. Tea Cake's was dynamic, fertile, sometimes dangerous, but it allowed the sea of her love to finally take its true shape.
And Phoebe gets it. The story changes her immediately.
She feels 10 feet higher just from listening. She's inspired to be more assertive with her own husband, Sam. The story works its magic, empowering the listener.
And Janie advises Phoebe not to be too hard on the town gossips.
Yeah, she dismisses them almost pityingly. They're just parched up from not knowing things. Their talk is just rattling meat skins because they haven't truly lived.
It's such a powerful ending for Janie. But the novel's own story after publication wasn't straightforward, was it? We have to touch on Hurston's legacy.
Absolutely. For decades, this masterpiece was largely ignored, even criticized, especially by prominent male Black writers at the time.
Richard Wright, most famously.
Yes. Wright and others were focused on social realism, on protest literature that directly addressed racism and economic oppression. They wanted books to be weapons, sociological documents.
And their eyes didn't fit that mold.
Not at all. Wright basically accused Hurston of pandering to white audiences with quaint folktales, calling her style politically retrograde. He couldn't see the revolutionary act of celebrating Black culture, language, and interior life on its own terms, not just in reaction to oppression. The focus on love, self-discovery, the sheer poetry of the language was dismissed as not serious, not political enough.
So the book went out of print for a long time.
For nearly 30 years, it was a real return of the repressed, as some critics say, when Alice Walker rediscovered Hurston in the 1970s.
Well, Walker really championed her, didn't she?
She did. Walker wrote a famous essay, In Search of Zora Neale Hurston, found her unmarked grave. She saw Hurston not as apolitical, but as promoting racial health, portraying Black people as complete, complex, undiminished human beings.
And that opened the door for a whole new generation, especially Black women writers.
Exactly. They saw Hurston had created this powerful, mythic realism, validating Black folk culture and language as worthy of high art. She wasn't just reporting on life. She was revealing its poetry, its philosophy, its inherent dignity.
The language itself becomes a political act, in a way. An act of claiming humanity.
Precisely. Which brings us back to Janie, alone in her room at the end, fully inhabiting her own life and memory.
She realizes Tea Cake isn't truly dead as long as she remembers him.
He could never be dead until she herself had finished feeling and thinking. His memory makes pictures of love and light against the wall, and then comes that final incredible image of self-possession.
She pulled in her horizon like a great fishnet.
Think about that. She started out gazing at a distant horizon, yearning for something out there.
The pear tree ideal.
Yes. And now, after everything, the joy, the pain, the love, the loss, the violence, the community, the storm, she doesn't need to look outward anymore. She pulls that horizon in.
She contains it all within herself.
So much of life in its meshes. She has gathered her experiences, integrated them. She called her soul to come and see. Her quest wasn't just to find the horizon, but to become it, to embody the fullness of her own life. So the final provocative thought for you, the listener, might be this. What does it mean to stop chasing a distant horizon and instead pull your own horizon in? To gather all the threads of your life, the good and the bad, the joys and the traumas, into the net of your present self and truly possess your own experience. Janie's final piece comes from that integration. Living by her own comparisons, shaped by her own sea.
That image pulling in the net is just perfect. A truly profound end to an incredible journey. Thank you for taking us through it.
My pleasure. There's always more to find in Hurston's world. Definitely worth mulling over.